Hi everyone, I'm Astro Coach Amy. Welcome to my show, The Divine GPS Navigator. Today we'll be discussing Mercury Retrograde, which will be in effect from August 13th until September 5th. This cycle, Mercury will be in the fire sign of Leo. And from our perspective on Earth, it does look like Mercury is spinning backwards. And that is mainly because of the relationship that both the Earth and Mercury have in their orbit as they move around the sun. Now, Mercury is a messenger of the gods, and it's also called Hermes. It's a planet that rules our lower mind and all of our everyday communication, our thoughts, our communications out in the world, transportation, scheduling, and it also rules lower education, such as elementary school. So it has an impact on all of us as it goes through this cycle. And some of those months, it has a greater impact than other time. Now, you may feel that greater urge with Mercury being in Leo. It's natural to want greater acknowledgement, recognition, and even love and passion from those you care about during these cycles. There's nothing wrong with asking for that, but during this cycle, there's a tendency for people to be a bit distracted. It's not that they don't care. So this is a great opportunity during this cycle to use your own affirmations, to even do some praise work, to acknowledge yourself. If there's things that you feel good about, that you accomplished, or ways that you behaved in the world that day, this is a wonderful opportunity to take that chance to work with yourself. And that way, if someone close to you just doesn't recognize it, you see that it isn't personal. It's just perhaps they're a bit distracted in their own cycle. The gift of this cycle is it's an opportunity to reorganize things. Perhaps there's something that needs to be repaid. Perhaps you need to reconsider one of your communications with someone. And maybe there's some exciting art projects or cultural activities that you've missed doing. This might be a great time to follow up on those. It's also a time if there are some things in your discussions with others or perhaps in your work and your family, things that don't seem quite right. This is a great time to reflect on those and see if there might be a way that you can improve upon those as well. One of the things I've learned through the years is I need to be more patient during a Mercury retrograde because there may be delays and interruptions I didn't expect. I can't control them, but they're going to occur. So I encourage people to do what has worked so much better for me during this time, which is to set up a calendar for the week. I always have my intentions of what I'd like to accomplish during that day, but they often aren't done because something interrupts the flow that needs to be done that seems to be more important. So I do try to be more flexible, and Mercury is in the fixed sign of Leo, so there may be a tendency to be a bit more resistant. So we want to keep a little more flexibility in our heart and our mind right now. Now, one of the things I've also needed to recognize is these 3-week cycles are also an opportunity for me to have greater trust in the universe, to see that the bigger picture may be much different than what I had in mind when I'm too focused on the details of my everyday life. So I do my best to recognize and stay open. I've had so many times when appointments were delayed, sometimes they were even postponed or canceled. I felt disappointed at the time, but suddenly there is a new opportunity, something I'd never expected. Someone perhaps shared with me, or perhaps they even asked me to do something I would have never dreamt of doing because I had an opening in my schedule. It's also a great opportunity to meet new people. Through some different cancellations or interruptions, you may find yourself in a place where you're sitting next to someone, or even on public transportation, or waiting in line somewhere where you meet someone you might have never known, and something tremendous might come from the connection. So this is important to, again, be in the flow. And of course, I think it goes at this point understood that if you're traveling, especially by plane at this time, to make sure you have some kind of overnight bag with you on the plane so you have your personal items. And that way, if the plane is delayed or there is a change in the luggage, that you can have a wonderful trip and still have some personal things with you. This is an especially intense time because it is the heat of summer, yet we have so many planets. We have 4 of them in the fire signs, and we do have 3 in water signs. So it can tend to make for greater emotional intensity. And it's not something we expect perhaps during the lazy days of summer, but it is going to be definitely up on the horizon during this period. So please make sure and use that important acronym I like to use, which is called THINK. When you respond to someone, is it thoughtful? Is it helpful? Is it intelligent? Is it necessary? And is it kind? Because we will notice, I think, that greater emotional intensity right now. Now, what makes this a very special retrograde cycle is that we do have our lunar eclipse only 8 days into this cycle, which will be on August 21st. I will be doing a show about that next week. I know we're already hearing a lot about it. But just know, again, we'll have even the sun and the moon in the fire sign of Leo. So that deep desire to express, to have fun, to show love towards others, it is going to intensify, as well as, of course, some other things. So just know it's a special time, but to be aware of this very strong energy that is continuing to build. I do encourage everyone to take some time to stay connected to your divine source. We know it is still a very tumultuous time out there, and to stay connected to some very positive media, as I've said, and just, try to minimize your contact with all the spectacular things that they're trying to get your attention out in the media. I do very much encourage you, like I said, to stay flexible, stay open. There may be some tremendous opportunities, and you may be so delighted afterwards that you just hadn't possibly imagined. And I do want to remind you, because it is a Mercury retrograde, if it's possible to wait to negotiate with people, whether it's in business or personal relationships or perhaps in the community, things that need to be discussed or resolved, this is a wonderful time to use the energy to have those discussions. If it's possible, I do encourage you to wait and to sign any binding documents from September 6th on. Certainly, if you can't avoid it, then please go right ahead. But often you might change your mind in your heart about certain items, certain issues that just were being considered during this period. Thank you so much for joining me on my show. Feel free to contact me at Astro Coach Amy if you have any additional questions. And I look forward to seeing you next week and talking about the eclipse.